And almost as a cue, the Turkish-backed Tahrir al-Sham began its lightning and spectacular offensive. In less than 48 hours, Syria's second-largest city, Aleppo, had fallen. The rebels tore down the statue of Basil, the brother of Bashar al-Assad, from atop a high horse. Similar such scenes were also witnessed in other cities captured by the rebel forces. In the city of Hama, that was captured by the rebels on the 5th of December, the rebels brought down the statue of Hafiz al-Assad, the father of the current ruler Bashar al-Assad, who himself had ruled over Syria as its president from 1971 till his death in the year 2000. But where is Bashar al-Assad? Preempting the fate that awaited him, Bashar al-Assad is reported to have fled from Damascus. Reuters has filed this graphic of a flight tracker that is widely believed to be of the plane that Bashar al-Assad boarded as he fled from Damascus. This video is from inside the Muhajirin presidential palace in Damascus. Bashar al-Assad's family portraits are said to be torn down. People also stormed the Al-Rada palace, and some were seen carrying away the furniture that was used by Bashar al-Assad and his family. On Syrian state television, the rebels put out their first statement after seizing power.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, by the grace of God Almighty, the city of Damascus has been liberated. The tyrant Bashar al-Assad has been toppled, and all the unjustly detained persons from the regime's prisons have been released. The Fatah Damascus Operations Room calls upon the Mujahideen brothers and citizens to preserve all the properties of the free Syrian state. Long live a free and independent Syria for all Syrians of all sects.
Russia, which had managed to turn the tide of the war in 2015, had carried out airstrikes on certain rebel positions, hampering their advance in the beginning of the lightning offensive. But lack of ground preparedness on part of the Syrian forces meant that neither Russia with its air power nor Iran through its militia groups in Iraq and Lebanon could come to Bashar al-Assad's rescue. Russia was also hampered by its preoccupation in the Ukrainian war theatre, where Joe Biden, in his days as the lame duck president, is climbing up the escalatory ladder with long-range missiles. The downfall of Bashar al-Assad is a loss of face for Russia. The future of its Mediterranean sea bases is unclear. For Iran, Assad's downfall is a crippling blow to its axis of resistance. But among the Syrian people who have the highest stake in this war, the reactions are mixed. Those who backed the rebels were out on the streets celebrating.
My name is Nathalie Homsi from Suleymaniya Street, The Villas. I am a mechanical engineer. For years we have been waiting for this day. We have been resisting. We have been enduring. We have been holding on. And we have been waiting for this day until the regime fell. And finally, the regime has fallen. From now on, the Syrian people are one. The Syrian people are one.
The leader of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham has said that the Prime Minister appointed by Bashar al-Assad, Mohammad Ghazi al-Jalali, will supervise the state institutions in the transition period.
I am here in my house. I have not left it, and I do not intend to leave it except in a peaceful manner, so that I can ensure the continuity of the work of public institutions and state institutions and facilities, and ensure there will be security and reassurances to our fellow citizens. I hope that everyone will think rationally and think about their homeland and country.
The United States of America, which aided the rebels by carrying out airstrikes in places like Deir ez-Zor, has said that it will remain in Syria to protect its interests.
We will continue to consult closely with regional partners who are affected by this crisis to support their security needs. Our commitment to them remains stronger than ever. We will also continue to maintain our presence in eastern Syria, which is solely to ensure the enduring defeat of ISIS and has nothing to do with other aspects of this conflict. We will continue to take the measures necessary to defend our forces and our partners and to prevent a resurgence of ISIS in eastern Syria.
A new Middle East is taking shape. From behind the scenes, Israel's position in the region has been strengthened. Erdogan, who backed the rebels, has gained more influence and leverage in Syria. The United States, which since the time of Barack Obama wanted Assad to go, has won a delayed victory.
I think that Assad is going to have to leave in order for the country to stop the bloodletting and for all the parties involved to be able to move forward in a non-sectarian.
Russia and Iran have been weakened in this new Middle East, but no one at this juncture can predict what fate awaits Syria with the fall of Damascus. Georgia, the South Caucasus nation of about 3.7 million people, has been plunged into chaos since the 28th of November after the governing Georgian Dream Party announced suspension of EU membership talks until 2028. The nightly demonstrations since then have been met with a very heavy-handed response from the authorities. More than 330 protesters have been arrested, with many allegedly being beaten in detention. Now, several opposition party headquarters have also been raided, and the opposition leaders have been arrested. Despite international condemnation, the Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze has refused to back down, accusing the protesters of spreading what he describes as liberal fascism. Our next report gets you more details.
The Georgian capital of Tbilisi has been in turmoil since the ruling Georgian Green Party claimed victory in the disputed October 26th parliamentary election. The controversial election was widely viewed as a referendum on Georgia's European Union aspirations. Critics of the increasingly authoritarian government accuse it of turning its back on the West and of leading the country back into Russia's orbit. On the 28th of November, the Georgian Dream Party announced that it was suspending the country's bid to start talks on joining the European Union until 2028, triggering a fresh wave of protests. Several demonstrators, including journalists, have alleged being beaten after being detained by the security forces. Georgian journalist Guram Rogava, who accused the riot police of employing intimidatory tactics, was covering a protest live in Tbilisi early on the 29th of November, when he was targeted directly by the police.
I was told it was a miracle that I can move my hands and talk because the injuries I sustained at the place gave me almost zero chance of survival. I have covered many protests since 2002, and this time it was apparent that we, the journalists, were special targets. It was clear that they were deliberately attacking media representatives. This is the policy of Georgian Dream. The government is such a state that, for some reason, its survival instinct dictates the need to intimidate the media.
Georgian riot police have used water cannons and tear gas in a bid to disperse demonstrators, who threw fireworks at police officers and built barricades on Tbilisi's central boulevard. More than 100 people have been treated for injuries following violent clashes with riot police. Reportedly, after a strident briefing from Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze, authorities started going after opposition leaders. On Wednesday, 48-year-old Nika Gvaramia, a lawyer and media manager turned politician from one of 4 opposition groups, was detained by police in the capital Tbilisi after being knocked to the ground and falling unconscious. But Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze struck a defiant tone, calling the arrests of opposition figures and reported searches at the offices of various organizations as more prevention than repression.
I could not call it repression. It is more prevention than repression. Regarding the connection, it is a fact. One thing is confirmed, people were systematically supplied with pyrotechnics and other means by the relevant political forces. This is absolutely clear and it lies in the palm of the hand.
In another major fallout, several ambassadors and the deputy foreign minister of Georgia have resigned over the decision to suspend European Union accession talks for 4 years. But Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze has refused to budge from his position and has instead escalated the feud with pro-EU opposition groups demanding a rerun of the disputed elections.
We will do everything necessary to completely eradicate liberal fascism in Georgia. This process has already begun. These recent developments mark the start of the end of liberal fascism in Georgia.
This kind of language is eerily reminiscent of what is used by the Kremlin in Russia to suppress dissent and targets its political